Hi, everybody, and welcome to Draw With Me. This is Twiglet. She's going back to her holding pen. I'm Danny Gregory, and whoops. Yes. Sorry for that extended shot of my thorax. All right, one last treat. There you go. That's it. You're out of here. All right. Welcome to Draw With Me. It is Thursday. It is time to do some drawing. As you saw last week, we did some amazing stuff. Well, you did some amazing stuff where we celebrated Cubism. And it was just fantastic to see. So thank you for coming back. And thank you for sharing the work that you made. So, all right, today is a special day for a number of reasons. It's Thursday, Mini Friday. I have a very demanding pug right here. And it is also a day in which we are going to celebrate World Bee Day. World Bee Day. Did you know about World Bee Day? I'm going to tell you about it. It's not about bee days, although sometimes we do treat the world as if it were a bee day, and that's why we need World Bee Day. Day celebrating the bees of the world, which is important because they are crucial to our survival. All right. I also wanted to tell you that after much deliberation and consternation, I've decided to teach a workshop. Maybe you know this already. If you don't, it may come as a thunderbolt from the sky that I am actually finally have figured out how to teach a workshop. You'd think it would be pretty obvious that I should be able to do that, but I haven't been able to do that, or I haven't been able to figure it out yet. So I have finally figured that out, and I will be, well, let me just tell you about it. Let me just show you about it. Here we go. I want to let you in on a creative secret. There's a tool that artists used for thousands of years to make incredibly expressive, elegant, and beautiful drawings in ink and watercolor, even in tea and coffee. And today, it's almost been forgotten. It's called the dip pen. In a special live 2-hour workshop, I'm going to teach you how to draw and write beautiful letters with this amazing tool. We'll make some great drawings and letter the alphabet and a quotation. You don't need much in the way of drawing or calligraphy experience to have a great time at this workshop, and you'll come away excited and confident about adding a dip pen and lots of nibs to your art kit. I hope you'll join me. There you have it. Yes, it is called Dip into Dip Pens. And it will be on Saturday, June 12th. So not too far away from now. But long away enough for you to order the small amount of art supplies that you'll need. Not much. A couple of $1 or $2 nibs, a stick that you stick them into, bottle of India ink, some paper. It's not onerous. And in fact, I'm so eager for you to take this workshop that we've ratcheted down the price dramatically so that it is a mere pittance to learn how to use, I don't know, one of the art tools that's been in circulation for the longest, and yet you probably don't use it. Or if you do, you're like, I've tried that thing. It is a nightmare. Well, I'm going to turn it into a dream because I've spent the last, I don't know, lengthy amount of time trying to figure out how do I explain how to use this thing, because it took me a long time to figure it out myself. It was not an easy thing. It's not like drawing with a marker or a ballpoint pen or even a fountain pen. There's a bit of a trick to it. But it's not a hard trick. And once you learn that trick, I mean, it's not even a trick. It's just some stuff you need to know. It will liberate you. You will be able to do so much with it. I've been thinking and equating it to driving a stick shift. You might go, great, I can drive a stick shift. Yes. But do you remember, if you ever try to drive a stick shift, there's that moment where you kind of try and throw it into gear and you're grinding the gears and the car's lurching forward. Then eventually you are comfortable with it, and then you have amazing control over the car, much more so than an automatic. I'm speaking as somebody who kind of hasn't driven a stick shift in decades, but if I was going to drive in the Formula One races, which I'm thinking seriously about doing, if I was to become a NASCAR driver or a professional race car driver of any kind, I would want to have a stick shift. If I really love driving, I would want to have a car that I could control. And that's what let me shift back. That's what using a dip pen is like. It's something that you have a little bit of a learning curve, not much. And honestly, in the course of the first half hour of this workshop, I'll get you over that. And from there on, we will be cruising. And the workshop is going to be, I say in that trailer that it's 2 hours, it's probably going to be closer to 3, because I really want you to work with me on it. I want to try a bunch of different exercises. We're going to do a few different drawings, and then we're going to get into writing letters and drawing letters and doing some stuff like that. It's not calligraphy, because I wish I could do calligraphy. I can't, but I do know how to kind of get some stuff out of a dip pen, and I can only do it with a dip pen. It really is a fantastic instrument. And the cool thing about it also is you can use any kind of ink. You can use any kind of liquid. You could use coffee. You could use blood. You could use watercolor. You could use anything you want to, because you don't have to worry about it. Because the absolute worst thing that can happen is you've damaged a $1 nib. But it's not like a fountain pen. It's totally freeing in that way. So you can try any kind of thing. But again, you got to just fiddle around with it. And I think what I like about the dip pen also, as a learning tool, which I've sort of figured out, is it forces you, in some regards, to slow down. You slow down a bit. But then you can also get lines that are super thin. If you took Chris Kaler's drawing with a brush workshop, you'll remember how he showed you how you can get the thin line and then you can branch out to the fat one. This is like that, but even more so, I think. And you can also press into it hard. It can be really expressive of your emotions. So anyway, so I decided I love this thing. I want to teach you about it. So I'm going to, if you show up, that is. But I'm sure you will, because we'll have fun. All right, so let's talk about World Bee Day and what I'm thinking about that, because it is something I didn't know much about. I mean, bees are something I think I've just sort of taken for granted. I like honey. It's not bad, honey's nice. But the idea behind World Bee Day is that it's a day to spread information about bees. Now, why should we as artists care about that? Well, in part because we should care about the planet and our environment. We all should. We're all human beings. But also because bees are pretty fascinating, and they're really hardworking, and they're communal. So, in a lot of ways, and they dance. So in a lot of ways, they are fellow spirits. So, and also a third of the food in the world is pollinated by bees. I didn't really understand their role until recently. We started growing tomatoes in our kitchen, and we grow them under a light in a thing. And one of the things that happens is that you start with these little tiny tomato seeds, and then they become seedlings, and then they become plants, and then they suddenly put out blossoms. And it's like, wow, this seems like something. But of course, they're not attractive flowers. They're tomato blossoms. They smell kind of interesting. But the thing that you have to do when that happens is you have to pollinate them, I discovered. And what does that mean? You have to get this thing. See that? It's like a little tiny bee. It's a little bee, and you put it on each flower. And you buzz each tiny flower each day, which to me was actually kind of a nice way to start my day, doing a little bit of buzzing. But it also made me realize if you don't do this, you don't get tomatoes. So when you do that, it releases stuff from the flower, and the whole room smells amazing. It's that tomatoey smell, but boy, with tomato blossoms, yipes. It is really, really nice. So anyway, so that's sort of started to pique my interest in bees. And then we've also had bees in our garden. We have roses now, and we have a bunch of plants and bees. So we started, I don't know, every evening when I go into the swimming pool, which we're now starting to do because it's like we live in a desert and it's a gazillion degrees here, there would be dead bees, or not dead bees, but bees in the pool. The bees would splash in the pool, and I wanted to save them, but I didn't want to touch them either because they're lethal bastards and they'll sting the hell out of you. So I would take a handful of water around the bee and fling it into the air, and they would fly away. So I started to feel like, okay, I'm a protector of bees now. So yes, and it's true, as JJ says, Twiglet got stung. I forget how it was, and she seemed to be less concerned about it than we were, but yes. So bees. All right, so so I was also curious, if they do nosedive into our pool, what's the big deal? Who is that actually that crash landed in our pool? And so it turns out that bees don't live for very long. There's three kinds of bees. Stop me if you took third grade science, but I'd kind of forgotten. There are three kinds of bees. There's queens, drones, and workers. And the workers are all females, such is the way of the world. The drones are males, and then there's the queen. And so the workers, they're the ones who really go out and do the pollinating, and they only last for about 5 or 6 weeks each. They only live that long. The queen, on the other hand, can live for 5 years. So, that's quite a different thing. But she has to lay up to 2,500 eggs every day. So that's a lot of eggs, and probably quite a hassle. She's probably glad to retire after 5 years of laying 2,500 eggs a day. And each bee in the entire life, their whole lifespan, they will only produce, I don't know, I did some intensive scientific research by Googling for half an hour, and it says that some bees produce a 1/12 of a teaspoon or an entire teaspoon. In either case, that's their output of honey for their whole life. So not a lot. And, if you think about what it's like to spread your toast with honey, that might be 3 bees' entire life output that you're chomping down while you're, idly reading the newspaper. So, be appreciative. And this is the other statistic I'm going to read to you. To produce a kilogram of honey, bees fly the equivalent of 3 times around the world in air miles. Just makes you not want to eat honey in a way, right? Boy. But, honey is nice, but the main thing that they do is they pollinate our plants. So if you eat vegetables, they're responsible for that. But also they produce they pollinate all the grain and stuff like that we carnivores depend on too to feed our livestock. So, yeah. But if you would like a real treat, I cannot strongly enough recommend a movie called Honeyland. Came out a couple of years ago. It's an incredible documentary. It's the first documentary ever to be nominated for an Oscar as both a documentary and as Best Foreign Film. It didn't win either of them, but it should have, because it was, wow, what a movie. And it's about this woman, this sort of humble woman in basically Turkey, edge of Turkey, I think Kurdistan, and she just is a beekeeper. But it's an incredible story. It's incredibly beautiful. It took them 3 years to film. Please see it if you haven't. I'm sure you can find it somewhere. It will touch your heart, but it's also absolutely fascinating. So, all right, well, good. Well, I'm glad you're all here. Biz has seen it. Biz, Happy Biz Day to you, Buzz Day. Yes, so I'm glad that lots of you are here and lots of you are interested in bees. But now today we're going to paint bees. And my first thought when I thought about this was, maybe we do some sort of realistic thing, and I'll post some reference of a bee. But I don't know if you remember, maybe last year we did a whole page about insects, and we did a thing on hornets, and it was very detailed, and it was this drawing of hornets. So I thought, I don't want to do that again. I want to just have some fun making cute. Let me just try see if this works. There you go. So this guy is cute-ish. Cute, and so that's kind of what I was thinking about. Like, let's make characters, bee characters, lovable bees, as opposed to slightly creepy, insecty kinds of bees. So, but you can do whatever you'd like. If you want to join me in making up bee things, we can do that. All right. So I need to just make sure that this is working. Hold on a second. Here we go. Yes, it is. Oh, good. So I'm going to be using this. This is Hahnemühle watercolor paper. I mean, this stuff is probably better than I deserve. But I'm trying to avoid that attitude, and I hope you are too. Art supplies are too good for us. No, we're too good for art supplies. Anyway, it's true though, right? You go out and say, "Oh, I'm saving that. Oh, it's so nice. It's so special. Look at it. It's 300 grams. Oh no, it's mold made. That's the best. It's 100% pure cotton rag. I dare not use it. I dare not sully its pristine virginal surface with my scrawlings." To hell with that. We're cracking this baby open. We're using it. And if Hahnemühle doesn't like what I do on this, you know what? I don't know what. I'll be mortified. All right, so let's peel this thing back, get it open. Okay, so this is the first page of this thing, which has this sort of protective thing. But look, I want to show you something cool. This is what they sent me. A Hahnemühle bamboo bone folder. Yes, there's something about bone folders that always sounds like it's something out of like Silence of the Lambs. And then he opened a drawer and removed a gleaming bone folder and proceeded to use it upon me. Anyway, this is not that. It's just a piece of bamboo. But, Hahnemühle's a paper company, so bone folders, and they're useful here because you can run them along the edge of your thing and this is how you one of the many uses is to separate the pages. When you have a watercolor block like this, and all the pages are kind of, I don't know if you can see it, but they're all glued together, so you can just work on the top one. So you use a bone folder. If you use your finger, which I used to do, it just kind of bends and warps the edge of the page. So a bone folder, you can slide it right in. I mean, I first encountered these when I was doing bookbinding, because you use them you can make a nice crease. So bone folder. All right. Somebody's asking about, this is off topic, Sarah Mandelbaum, but the book club is, whoa, I'm out of focus here. The book club is something that I sort of am doing, which is, I do it on Spark. We do it in the after party. Sorry, I'm just realizing that I'm blurry and out of focus, but whatever. Here I am. Okay, I'm back. So, all right, so let's try and do this. I'm going to probably use some watercolor paper, some watercolors. And, oh yeah, I can show you this. Here's my watercolor setup. And I got some gouache standing by. I've got my colored pencils over here. So we'll see. We'll see what we need to use. We don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see what becomes necessary. Yeah, so I've got that little, hey, there you can see what am I actually doing. Well, I think I'm going to start by mixing up a little bee color. So I'm thinking of making like a bunch of little tiny, experimenting with little kinds of bees, different bees. See how I feel about different bees. Little fat bee body, bee body, bee body, maybe a little bee head. Oh, I like this paper. And I'm not just saying that because they gave it to me. I know what you're saying. You are just pandering for the price of a block of watercolor paper, but no, I quite like this. I am good enough. I am good enough to use this watercolor paper. I think I'm going to do a few little different things. So I'm going to get a little bit of gouache here, some gouache there, and maybe mix a bit of lemon yellow in here too. If I can get this ancient tube of gouache to cooperate. A little bit of white standing by. All right. Not the ideal brush. Put that guy aside. Grab an actual proper brush. Oops, sorry. You can't even see what I'm doing. There you go. Oh, good. The leaf blowers are here. Yeah, I'm just making kind of bee shapes, bee lines that I then want to. I just have vague, loose ideas about different ways of doing some bees. Just build some shapes with gouache and watercolor just to have standing around. So then we can kind of develop different ways of doing them, but just because we've got some color sitting down there, and then we can put some ink on top if we want, and maybe come back in and tighten it up later on. It looks a little random, but I kind of have ideas around it. So I'll start to tighten this up and you'll see a bit more what they'll be like. So the idea again is draw a whole bunch of bees. Draw different bees. They could have different personalities. Sorry, friend, I didn't need to put that up there. All right. I think I'm going to take a brush pen. Here's a brush pen, and I'm a little anxious here to figure out, like, how do I want to give him like little arms, even though bees have 6 legs. I'm gonna figure out like. Maybe they're sort of coming off this part of his body. Or it's her body probably, right? Because, this is almost certainly a female worker. I'm not sure what the drones do exactly. Like, what is their function? Security, maybe? Insemination, quite likely. Do they inseminate the queen? Is that what they're up to? Little antennas. And I should probably do a little eye dot in gouache. This might be a bad call because it might take a year for this gouache to dry, but we'll see. If that's the case, I'll intervene in some way. All right. Let's look at this little guy up here. He has a different personality. A little, Are you making bees? Maybe a sort of slightly nervous bee who's worried about whatever it is that's causing hive collapse. Saying to himself or herself, my God, I only have 5 or 6 weeks and I have to produce an entire 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey? This is a nightmare. Oh, you know what I forgot? Of course. Wings. Yeah, wings. Okay, I remember when I was in grade school, a bee flew into the classroom and it landed on my arm and I swatted it away. And then I looked down on my arm and there was half a bee stuck into my arm. I'd sliced it in half. And I was kind of unreasonably proud of that fact at the time. Now I feel like it was a cruel act of destruction. All right, a slightly different kind of bee. Maybe he needs a little help with these are watercolor pencils, so they turn into watercolor when you add water to them, but not when you don't add water to them. They're not mind-reading pencils. They don't know whether you want them to be watercolors or not. So they wait to see what you're going to do. I didn't really think hard about this brush pen and whether or not it was waterproof, particularly when it isn't fully dry, but live and learn. Probably better to know these kinds of things. So I think therefore I'm going to switch to a different kind of instrument. In this case it's this fine liner from Winsor Newton. It's always a bit strange drawing on gouache with a fine liner. It has a different quality to it. Of course I have to give them knees because they're the bee's knees, so don't forget your knees or elbows. Strange wings. Okay. Strange wings. All right, so they said, is this dry? Oh, it's almost dry. All right, interesting, good. So that's dry, so I can sort of a Max Fleischer, sort of 1930s, 40s cartoon-looking guy. Let's try a different brush pen. This one is no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use some. What if I use a dip pen? Whoa. Cool idea. Try that. See if this works. I'm playing around with some unfamiliar stuff here. So, let's try it out. I mean, I am teaching a workshop on dip pen, so surely I should know how to do this. Ooh, it's working quite well. See that? See how the this is a dip pen thing that you don't get with anything else. This kind of super nice blackness. And maybe this is going to be a much more sort of minimal kind of bee. It just has maybe no legs, and maybe it has this sort of little sort of minimal wing action, but we'll still have the obligatory stinger. And I was a bit hesitant because I wasn't sure how this paper would work with Indie ink, but it's great. I'm actually kind of excited by that. Sometimes with watercolor paper, Indie ink can just kind of go berserk, and then you're in trouble. You can just start bleeding into the paper and doing all kinds of weird things, but this is actually good. Good to know. All right, I'm going to give him little legs. I wasn't going to, but he seems hobbled by the lack of them. All right, that's another kind. Now that I'm into this Indie ink thing, I'm going hog wild with it, trust me. This is going to be awesome. Let me see. You can also be chancy using Indie ink on gouache. Occasionally I'm worried about it, but again, in this case, all the art supply gods are in alignment. And I accidentally gave that guy glasses, but maybe this is sort of B without stripes. No, that's crazy. It wouldn't be a B, but maybe he has sort of pinstripes. There he is. Kind of more casual. All right. This one, what if this is like more of an abstraction? This guy. I'm just kind of looking at him from above. It's kind of in a frenzy of flying and sort of a disaster, actually. Put in a, I don't know, disaster bee. All right, he was a disaster, but that's okay. You know, into every hive, there's always one in every hive, as they say, you know? Let's try a different way. Let's just draw a guy. Maybe he's slightly heavier. He's a heavy bee. Heavy bee. He's heavy, but he's friendly. could keep going with these bees. I might draw some more. I think I will. But I'm going to do it alone. Now that you've had an opportunity to draw some bees, what do you think? Is it for you? Bee creation? Creating characters out of bees? You know, it is fun to make characters out of things. You sort of have to know what they look like in real life to exaggerate some of their features, but you know, by and large, we know what a bee looks like. We know what a dog looks like. We know what a jaguarundi looks like. So just, you know, go and try reducing them to some kind of minimal part of their, you know, like what are the key parts of it? In a bee, it's like a stinger, wings, 6 legs, stripes, a head, I guess, a bowler hat, and a bow tie. But, you know, you can just reduce it down to whatever the elements are that you think matter. I would say stripes, you've got to have stripes. It's not a bee if it doesn't have stripes. Stinger, probably. All the legs, I don't think so. I think you could certainly draw a bee with no legs. I've seen bees with no legs. It's not a pretty sight. They buzz around in circles on the floor. Do they need to have spectacles? Probably not. You could probably get away with just having them not wearing any kind of clothing at all, and that would work. So yeah, there's plenty of things that we can do once we reduce it down to the elements. Then you go, okay, stripes. So you could do stripes in an abstract way. You could just draw some stripes, draw a circle around it, draw some antennas. I'm going to try that later on. I think I know what I'm talking about. I am drawing it right here. You can't even see it, but I have a feeling like that might work. Yeah, it does. It still feels like a bee. All right, I'll show it to you. What I was talking about, which is just like, how do we get super simple, right? Still looks like a bee, totally recognizable as a bee, right? You know, it would help if you did this. But anyway, that's shorthand way of quickly knocking out a bee. Thanks for joining me for celebrating World Bee Day, for checking out this Honolulu watercolor paper, and for just drawing together. You know, honestly, I'd much rather draw some lousy B- drawings of bees than do 0 bees, do 0 drawings, spend all of my time catching up on TikTok. I spent 15 minutes this morning looking at TikTok. It's not something I do normally, but I'd read an article in the New York Times which led me to it. Why did I spend time reading the New York Times? That was time I could have spent doing doodling, drawing bees. So anyway, time spent drawing is always fun, regardless of what the drawings are like. So thanks for making some drawings with me today. And if you're in Spark, hey, I'll see you in 13 minutes to carry on. I have some interesting things I want to talk to you about. Last week's session was fantastic, talking about cubism and the whole experience of doing those cubist drawings. I hope you enjoyed that, whether you're in Spark or not. I hope you enjoyed it. But I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, don't forget, if you would be so kind, to check out the workshop. Not too late to sign up. It will be fun. We won't draw bees though, but we will do all kinds of other things. We'll draw teacups, among other things. It will be fun. So sign up. Let me just move that so you can see it. bit.ly/DannyDip, or just go to sketchbookschool.com and look at the workshops section of the sprawling empire that is Sketchbook School. And I'll see you then. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great day.